Hello, this is your pre-lab video for the week of April 4th. This is the 12th week of this semester. A couple of announcements before we review the schedule. Please do verify your plans for the week with your TA, especially if you weren't in lab last week, the week of March 31st. Each of the sections decided on their own how they'd like the rest of the semester to progress, and many sections are using kind of a hybrid format where they'll do some remote and some in person. So if your TA hasn't reached out to you to confirm what those plans are, please do email them and ask them. We are trying to be as flexible as we can. And I think in some cases, a lot of what you'll be doing in the last couple of weeks in class would be best done online. But again, we're leaving it up to the sections to decide. So if you're unclear on what's happening for the next 3 weeks of class, please email your TA for clarification. Your last and third exam of the semester will be held on Wednesday, April 14th during our normal lecture hour. It'll cover what we call Block 3. And Block 1 and Block 2 as well. So it'll be weighted so that it's almost equally distributed across the 3 blocks of that exam. And we'll do the same thing as we did last time. I think the format that we used last time worked pretty well. We'll have a review session 1 or 2 days before the exam, and I'll be posting in the coming weeks more critical thinking questions, because this exam is going to be even more heavy on the critical thinking questions, since the whole purpose of the semester was to get you not only getting experience doing research, but also thinking about research and learning how to present it. Let's take a look at the schedule. This is the week of April 4th. We are going to be talking about bioethics and reliable science in lecture this week. You had a play posit that is due at 10 p.m. on April 4th, on Sunday as usual. In class this week, your TAs are going to be reminding you of how you identify a statistical hit in class. You will be focusing your effort in the lab on quantifying vials, quantifying survival. You'll be recording your negative controls in the common Google Sheet as you have been, and those negative controls are going to serve as the numbers that you use to determine whether your individual compounds are hits. Your TAs are also going to be talking to you again about how to make bar graphs. So at this time, I think they'll be running through how to make bar graphs in Google Sheets. But if you have Excel or some other software on your computer, you can just let them know or let me know, and we can teach you how to make bar graphs in those individual platforms. So the aim of this week is to start graphing all of your data. Individual experiments that were performed week by week in the lab. And also, as the data become available in the next week and a half or so, you'll be making composite graphs that summarize the replicates that you performed. So for example, you did 2, in most cases, most of the groups did 2 high dose experiments. So you'll be averaging the duplicates or triplicates from each day of experimentation and reporting the response of the larvae to the highest dose on 1 bar. So you want to be as efficient as possible so that your results section doesn't show every single vial, but rather a summary of your findings for the class. Next week in lab, you're going to be working on choosing a poster template and populating that template with your introduction, your methods, results, discussion, and future directions, and your TAs will help you do that. If you've never done this before, posters are generally made in PowerPoint or Keynote, and they're one slide. They're just one slide that has been formatted not to be 8.5 by 11, but usually 36 by 24. So a much larger format. It has to be in that format. So I know that some people might want to change things about the appearance of their slide, and that's perfectly fine. We'll give you guidelines for things like the types of colors that work, the things that do not work on a poster, but you're encouraged to check again and again the page setup of your slide to make sure that it's the correct dimensions, because some of the posters will be printed. You'll also have your exam a week from Wednesday. And we will be working with you next week on how to present your poster. Because on Friday, the 16th, you'll be uploading your poster file and the file of you presenting your poster. So there'll be one poster per group. So if you're in a group of 4 people, you'll produce one physical poster, upload that as your file, but then all 4 of you in the group are going to do individual presentations of the entire poster. So again, you'll be quantifying survival this week in the lab and also next week. So we'll be running right up until Friday the 16th, collecting data. If you have vials that haven't closed yet for one reason or another, in some cases, the compound combined with the radiation can slow development down so much that the vials run into the 3rd week, where we're just waiting and waiting and waiting for those larvae to close. If you run into that situation, just communicate it to us. We can help you quantify over the weekend, and we can give you a small extension on uploading those files. We actually run the entire symposium, so we have a little bit of control over when things are due. That said, the hard deadline for everybody, with rare exception, will be Friday the 16th at 5 p.m. So coming up this week, the week of April 4th, you'll have a lab notebook check. And what that means is your TAs are going to be taking a look at your lab notebooks and grading them based on the rubric that was provided to you on the first page of your lab notebook. So I basically took that and made it into a table, assigned points to each category, and your TAs will use that as a rubric for grading. That said, you won't be graded on things that you don't have yet. So for example, if you haven't set up vials, you hadn't set them up until a week ago and nothing is closed, you're not going to have results. And we don't expect you to have results in there. We're not going to give you a 0 for not having results. But for things that you have done, you are expected to have those things documented thoroughly and in accordance with the rubric that's provided on that first page. So check in on your lab notebook as soon as possible, because your TAs are going to be doing that at some point this coming week. Again, your exam and the last exam of the semester is on Wednesday, the 14th of April. There is no 4th exam. There's no final exam for this class. So this will be your last exam, and it is cumulative. So a lot of people come out of the exam and say, wait, you said there's no final exam. There is no final exam, but this is the 3rd and final exam that's cumulative. It's held 2 weeks before final exams. The purpose of that is to prepare you for the presentation that you'll be doing. So the idea is to give you a refresher of all of the content that we've covered for the semester, so it's fresh when you're thinking about presenting your poster in the video. The poster file and the presentation video are both due on Friday, April 16th at 5 p.m. And the Cure Symposium will be on Wednesday, April 21st at 6 p.m. We'll be giving you more details about that. And I will be recording a lecture that I post by the end of this coming week, so that you can watch that on Play, pause it, and there will be a questions and points associated with that, so that I know that everybody knows what the expectation is for the symposium. During finals, you'll have the specific aims page. This is a very common format for grants. So it's the first page of a grant that summarizes the aims of the grant. And by grant, I mean an application for multiple years of funding to continue research that has been started. So in your case, what you'll be doing is formulating 2 or 3 new aims for your project, pretending that, say, you could be in the lab for another 3 to 5 years. What would you do? And we can help you with this. We'll help you identify things that make sense to do next. And you'll be preparing using the format of the National Institutes of Health, a specific aims page. This is a very, very important page for a grant. It's the page that often is a deal breaker for grants. Grants get triaged based on that first page. In other words, a reviewer looks at it and doesn't even read the grant if it's not strong. So we're going to be teaching you how to succinctly sell your project, formulate really strong aims, and give those aims context to emphasize how important your work is. That will be due by the end of our assigned final exam period on May 3rd. So the university assigns all final exam times and dates during final exams week, We don't have an exam, but your specific aims page needs to be uploaded by the end of that period. That's the sort of the drop dead date for the class. You can, for the specific aims page, stick with your group. So if you, again, have a group of 4, the 4 of you can get together and produce this one-page specific aims page and submit it together, and all get the same grade. If you're done with your group and you want to break off and do it on your own, all you have to do is say, I'm just going to be doing this one on my own. Or if you and another member want to do it together, everyone will be supportive and understand if a group breaks apart. It's no problem from anyone's perspective. So you can submit it individually, as a pair, as a complete group. It doesn't make any difference. But if you submit as more than one person, everyone in that submitting group will get the same grade. The other thing that's coming up that is not on here, but I think it's important as we start thinking about final grades, is about 35% of your grade is not yet earned. So it's really important to stay in the game, help us support you through the rest of the semester, because there's a big chunk still coming. You will have the opportunity to rate each other. So the members of your group, if you had somebody in the group who didn't do anything, you'll have the opportunity to anonymously, we'll know who you are, but the other members of the group won't. You can tell us who contributed what to your project so that we understand the dynamics of the group and we can adjust grades accordingly. Because we don't want one person to have done all of the work and either suffer because the rest of the group brought them down, or have another person who did nothing get an A because the rest of the group was really strong. So we do have sort of a safety net for that. As I can hear already, people are getting a little grumbly about the group work. But you will have an opportunity to formally report that to us, and we do adjust grades according to what we hear in those reviews. All right, so 2 more weeks of lab. The 3rd week, right before finals, we're going to have office hours so that we and your TAs can support you in producing your specific aims page. It would be amazing if you could get that done before finals so you don't have to worry about it. You can submit it at any time. But in the meantime, do come to lab and quantify your vials in whatever way you and your group decided. And then if you want to talk about your results, about how things are going, or any of the edits that I'll be providing to you in the next day or two, just reach out. I'm basically going to be office hours all day, every day. So I'm available. If you just want to drop me a line and say, I want to just catch up for 5 minutes, just let me know what time and I will be there. Okay? So enjoy the week, and I hope you're enjoying the weather. I will see you this week.